You are listening to Be Amplified, the podcast with Bree and Thais, episode number 60.
Hey Amplifiers, welcome to Be Amplified, the podcast. My name is Thais.
And I'm Bree Seeley. We are the co-founders of the Amplify Collective,
A movement aimed at radically disrupting how purpose-driven women connect and operate in the world.
because we believe it's not just what you do, but who you are that matters.
Each week, join us for messages and interviews that will leave you feeling amplified and ready to change the world.
Let's do this.
Oh, hey, peoples that listen to our podcast.
It's Monday, or possibly not Monday for you, depending on when you listen to this.
Yes, I'm Thais Guy. This is Bree Seeley. We are the co-founders of the Amplify Collective, and we come to you today with a new episode of Be Amplified.
I have to say, Thais, that after 18 months, your radio voice has really, you've really embraced that energy of being a radio person that's like, and today on Be Amplified.
I need to be on the radio.
We are right now.
No, but I mean, like the thing that you turn on in the car.
Do people actually listen to that anymore? Is that still a thing?
I listen to NPR every day when I'm in the car.
Wow.
So I guess some people still do if NPR still goes the way it's going.
I have to admit, I did actually listen to the radio in the last week, but it was only because my phone was so dead that if I played music through my phone, my maps weren't going to get me to where I was going.
Oof, good thing you made it.
Good thing I made it. It would have been a terrible thing, and luckily the radio is still around to...
Luckily. Phew, a silent car ride. What would that have looked like? That's scary.
Sheer and complete terror.
All right, people.
Last week...
No, I'm going to speak. No.
One quick announcement.
No announcements.
Can I make my announcement?
You're allowed an announcement.
We have our final public event of the year tomorrow in Los Angeles, and we would love for you to be in the room with us.
Where specifically?
We will be jamming at Michael Kors at the Grove, and we have Le Grand Cortage, we have Kavita, we have lots of snack companies on board because our intern this summer kicked ass.
She did kick ass.
And some giveaways, some prizes, and lots of love and shopping. So who's free?
So come join us and give and toast with us. It's our last public event, people. So you might as well just put on some shoes and come join us.
More likely, let's be real, put on some pants.
Well, yes, you're right. That is more of a priority than shoes.
I was joking with some clients yesterday. I was like, oh man, I have to leave the house tonight. Like, I actually have pants on right now, and we're on video chat together. And they're just like, what? And I'm like, no one can ever see my bottom half. So
I mean, you don't know if I'm wearing pants right now.
I'm wearing yoga pants right now. And
I could be naked right now. So you're welcome for that.
Oh my God, can you imagine the naked podcasters? There has to be a thing out there. Is that already a thing?
I got a FaceTime call from a friend yesterday, and she just called me as I was getting out of the shower. So I had my hair up in a towel, and I was like, so I didn't have anything on. Anyway, I didn't expect her to FaceTime me. I thought, didn't want it to be some sort of emergency. So I answered it, and she starts laughing because I'm, clearly naked. Look, people.
All we're saying is you can put on a pair of pants and come have a glass of champagne with us.
And
tomorrow.
I will accept skirts and dresses. That is also acceptable.
Oh yeah. Fact.
Okay. So last week we talked about grief. And so we wanted to kind of make some space to talk about the other side of the spectrum. Not that it's a duality. It's not either or, people. It's not either or. Actually, you can find tremendous amount of joy when you go through your grief. But anyway, today,
so we're moving from
of grief.
We're moving from the little blue Inside Out character to the really fun yellow Inside Out character. If you guys have seen the movie.
Yes, I didn't even think about that. That's amazing. We're going to be talking about joy.
Yay!
So joy is the last module that we teach in the Amplified Woman, which is our 6-month group thingy bobber. And so let's talk about joy. Let's talk about happiness. Let's talk about bringing that into our lives?
So the first thing I want to kind of touch on is that's a little funny to me is that joy and happiness is like the tip of the mountain, right? Like we're always just striving and trying to get to the top of the mountain to like be happy. Like that's the be all end all, the finish line, like all these things. And it's so funny because one, oftentimes when we get to the tip of the mountain, we still don't allow ourselves to be in joy, and we're still complaining about how things aren't there with the way they are or whatever. And we don't allow ourselves to feel joy in any of the middle stuff either. We get so caught up in like the daily to-dos and the, well, I have to do this and I have to clean my dishwasher and I have to, scoop the cat litter and I have to do this and I like all these things. We get so bogged down by all the shit that we just don't allow ourselves to have any goddamn fun.
And I think fun is important.
So important.
I think that we take ourselves way too seriously. There are so many beautiful books that I've read in the Buddhist tradition that are so humorous, and they joke that's like, if you're teaching and you're making it serious, you're not doing it right. Because ultimately, playfulness and lightheartedness and humor and love and happiness, that's what's going to help people remember. More so than being all serious and uptight. And I don't know, I love the idea of playing more, and I love the feeling of joy. Like it's just such a like heart bursting experience, or like when you're with someone and they're really funny and you guys can't stop laughing and you're about to pee because you're laughing so hard. And like those are incredible moments. But I think what stops us from really feeling those incredible moments is that we're so scared that they're never going to happen again. We get so attached to that moment, and we're so terrified of it going that we cling to it. And when we cling to happy moments, then we create suffering, because happiness and sadness, everything else is just, it just comes in and out. It's all just moves through you. And when we get attached to certain feelings, we rob ourselves of, the entire spectrum of human emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, I had one of those. I remember this year specifically, there's like one instance of that. We were walking through the streets of LA and I was laughing so hard I almost collapsed on the corner on the sidewalk. And those moments are so amazing, and they don't happen all the time. But one thing that I've really been playing with is how can I integrate more of that energy into everything I do? Like, how can I be joyful when I'm scooping cat poop into a paper bag? How can I be joyful when I'm, cleaning out the kitchen sink, which is not one of my favorite things in the whole world?
Yeah.
How can I be joyful when I accidentally put too many carrot peelings down the kitchen sink and then my sink doesn't drain and then I have to get a guy in to come do all the things, which was my life this week. But finding joy in all the things, in everyday activities, and not just these big, ostentatious displays of the heavens opening up and, raining down magic juju on you and kind of stuff.
Yes. Eckhart Tolle talks about how there are 3 states that we want to be in. And I can't remember the second one. God damn it. But, he's like, infuse joy in everything you can. But if you can't infuse joy, then at least infuse acceptance. If you can't be joyful about something, at least practice being in acceptance of what that something is. And, I love that. I love that joy has maybe like a spectrum. I love that we don't have to force ourselves to be happy, because that's not a thing, but we can certainly ask ourselves, how can we infuse more of that element into what we're doing?
So the internet says that the first modality is acceptance.
Oh my God, you're hilarious.
The second modality is enjoyment. See, I have this rule. Google knows everything.
Everything.
And so if you don't, which I don't, there's a lot of shit I don't know. First to admit it, there is a lot of shit I don't know. But Google knows. So
I am so glad that you are researching this so we can give our audience a full, clear spectrum of the 3 things that Eckhart Tolle teaches. Okay, yeah. So acceptance, enjoyment,
and enthusiasm.
Ooh, yes. I love that. I've totally forgot about that. Yeah. Yes. like, I think the idealness is to bring enthusiasm into everything you do. But obviously, c'est not possible. We are humans, and there's certain things that we can't force it, right?
Yeah, so he says that too. Enthusiasm cannot be a continuous state, but enthusiasm is just like an intense aliveness that flows into everything you do, whether it's dusting the table or making a cup of tea or taking your dog on a walk, or, all the routine things as well, which I think are the ones that we forget to have joy in. They really are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I found that the key, like the gateway to joy, like if we want joy to be our destination and we're currently not in a state of joy, one, accept your emotions, damn it. Okay. Gosh, people, stop forcing yourself to feel shit. Okay. So feel your emotions. But then the second step, once you've felt all the feels, is gratitude. God, gratitude is so good. Like not making a list, like really feeling it in your body. Like when you can really feel gratitude for what you're doing or what's here, it's like joy kind of just like it just comes in. It just tickles your belly, it's just a thing that is here so naturally when we can shift our mind to that place of what am I grateful for?
And as you were talking, one other thing that it reminded me of is one of our favorite books by Wallace Waddle, The Science of Getting Rich. And he talks about you don't get a change of environment by being unhappy where you are. Like you get a change of environment through action. You don't, if you're sitting around waiting for the change of environment to happen, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But if you're embodying the change that you want to see, your environment will just naturally shift. And so the more that you can be in gratitude and enjoy, even in the moments when you're not so feeling like you're in gratitude and enjoy, that's what's going to change your environment. That's what's going to change your perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And, even if you can't change your environment because of external things, I think stepping into a place of enthusiasm or enjoyment or acceptance or gratitude gives you the the oomph, the energy, the perspective shift that will allow you to either accept what's happening or take action and do something about it. I think while anger can be an incredible fuel for action, it's not as sustainable. Just like enthusiasm is not sustainable, anger isn't sustainable, right? So we've got to find the places within us that are more sustainable and then practice accessing that place. And again, I'm telling you, gratitude is the shit. Every time we want, and I'm not talking about the cliche gratitude because I know it's so spewed around. Oh, they can be grateful. No, I'm talking about the real, when you really are complaining and you really feel hopeless, like there's nothing you can do, to just take a deep breath and remember your aliveness, and remember and feel it in your entire body. That's what I'm talking about.
When was the last experience that you were able to be in that state?
I try to be in that state all the time.
Hashtag sustainability.
Obvi. Because I'm enlightened and shit. Someone called me a bodhisattva the other day. I go, whoa, let's walk off us a horse there. I don't know about being, bodhisattva is, it's a Buddhist commitment to being on the path of, why don't you Google it? Why don't you Google it?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Spell it for me, Thais.
It's Bodhi, like the tree, like Bodhi, and then it's Sattva. Google will have a better answer than I will.
A person who is able to reach nirvana but delays doing so out of compassion in order to save suffering beings.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking about bodhicitta. So bodhicitta, you create a bodhicitta vow. Like anyone can do it if they're really committed in the Buddhist path to be in the state of oneness, right? So that's bodhicitta. And then once you enter the bodhicitta path, then you step into the bodhisattva, you ultimately, hopefully step into being a bodhisattva. Yeah, someone called me that the other day. I was like, that is so not where I'm at, my friend. That is so, but that's cute. That's cute. Okay, let's see. Last time I was in a place of that type of gratitude. Well, I will say, being in a partnership with someone for 4 years, you kind of start taking some things for granted, um, and you kind of go into the rhythm of your life, and you kind of forget that you have made a commitment to be with this person, and they're not just always going to be there, right? But I was leaving for the East Coast, and so I was been thinking about that a lot. I'm not going to be seeing him for 2 weeks, which is fine. But what does that mean? And I don't know. I just got this sense of just complete gratitude for our relationship and for our trust of each other and for our communication and just for how he supports me and who he is in the world. And that moment of gratitude when I infused it into the relationship was really magical. Like the 3 days before I left for the East Coast, it's just so it's like relationships are so much yummier when you come in instead of trying to change the other person, being like just the gratitude for who they are, and what they do for you in your life. Nice. So that was my last experience. Nice. Yeah. How about you? Huh? And then can we talk about play? Because I think that's important. We need to talk about play.
We can. Yes. Yes, we'll talk about that. So for me, I actually had a moment this morning because I'm in this massive to-do state. I have a lot of things going on, a lot of balls in the air that I'm all trying to juggle all at once. And I've decided in the last few weeks that it's a really good idea to start getting up earlier because I need more time in my day. And so now I've been getting up at 5:30 in the morning, every morning. And negating my morning routine and immediately jumping into work and being all in the I have to get this done, energy. And this morning I had my laptop on my lap. It was 6 a.m. and I was writing and had my cup of tea by my side, and all of a sudden Peaches jumps on top of my laptop, and I just had this moment where I was like, you're keeping me from doing all the things, and you're fucking things up, and you're stepping on keys, and all this just ugh. And I had a moment and I looked down at her fucking cute little furry face, and she just looked up at me with her big green eyes, and she just needed a second of love. Just and so I looked at my clock and I was like, I'm 4 minutes. I'm going to put my computer aside. I'm going to be really present in this moment and just be in an intense state of love and gratitude because.
And then did you take a picture and share it on social media?
I did. Did you just see it? It's on the Instagram stories.
No, I didn't see it, but of course you would.
She's just so cute, and she was not sitting on my lap. She was literally sitting up above my boobs, in my face, needing to be right up on. She's just so cute. So I gave myself 5 minutes this morning to just be in that place and let my heart expand and receive all of her little healing kitty purrs, and it was good. It took me out of the insanity and the frantic chaos for a hot second.
Yeah.
So let's talk about play. So what I was going to say is I don't really have a lot to say about this because as a kid, I didn't really get to play that much, but I'm learning how to play as an adult, which is an interesting thing. I don't really know how to do it. So you tell us all the things, Thais. How do I learn to play? Other than board games. I know how to play board games. Those I got down.
I mean, I would say that I think I'm a pretty playful person. And to me, playfulness is an energy that you can bring into anything, just being more lighthearted and fun and not taking things so seriously. But that's just, I guess, that's kind of just who I am. So I don't want to the 5 steps to become more like Thais, because that's weird. I will say, I think that we all need to spend more time doing things that are really just fun, like going putt golfing, or laser tagging, or doing these fun kind of things, experiences, going to not museums. That is not playful. Amusement parks. And
why can't it be playful? It can be playful. Have you gone to the Museum of Ice Cream, Thais?
There we go. Okay. Yeah, like that, like fun museums, not like lame museums.
Oh my gosh. Hashtag no judgment.
Oh, I love all museums. Please don't judge me. I'm very educated.
Thais is super cultured.
I'm super cultured. That's what I meant. Not educated, cultured. Okay. Love museums. Hashtag Thais loves museums. But yes, fun museums that bring out the playfulness, like the Ice Cream Museum in LA and whatever else. I just think we need to do more of that. And I think when we can do more of that, it's easier for us to go into that state of playfulness. And when we can do that, then we can bring that energy into other things.
One of the things that I remember as just kind of a fun, playful, people take too seriously is when we did the events at, oh my God, why am I losing my mind here? On Larchmont, the spin events, Flywheel. And everyone's so serious and everyone's like sweating and like so exercising and like, rah, you know, we have to get through to the end. And Thais is next to me just like screaming and just like laughing and just like, oh my God. Yeah. There's no need.
I mean, it was so torturous that I didn't know what else to do.
And of course, there's, you know, we were in a private class. It was only Amplify people, blah, blah, blah. You don't really want to disturb too many other people's experiences. But come on, people take that stuff so seriously. And why are we killing ourselves with all these things that are like so intense and so serious all the time?
When I teach yoga, I try to make people laugh, you know, or I do things like different balance poses or arm balance and then ask them to do something that's really uncomfortable. And I'm like, you're like standing on one foot on a big ball of rock that's like moving through space. Like this shit's not that serious, you know? I just think that playfulness is the way. It's the answer to all of our problems, you know?
If you were to go out and play for the rest of the day today, Thais, what would you do?
Well, this may be TMI, but I'm on the first day of my period.
We are synced even though we are 3 time zones apart. I love this, Thais.
Well, so I'm not feeling, my uterus is not feeling so well. So my level of play right now is to like have a hot pad on my belly and watch Netflix. Not very playful, but it's exactly what I need right now. But in general, I mean, you know, Mark and I, we've been wanting to go back to the trampoline park.
Oh yeah,
that was so much fun, like so much fun. We also love Room Escape in LA, where you're in a room and you have to like find the clues to like find your way out, and it's fun. And we can also take that too. I mean, you could take all these things seriously. That's the point, right? Like you could go to a trampoline park and take it too seriously, and you have to get the backflip. And if you don't get the backflip, that means something and whatever. But really, it's like practicing dropping into energy of what it felt like to be a kid, to be a child again. You know, to not take these things so seriously.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap this up and bring our beautiful guest on.
Rakia Reynolds is going to imbue you with more joyful energy and more, you know, excitement and enjoyment and all the things. So pause for one hot second and we will bring Rakia on. All right, amplifiers, we are back. We have an amazing guest with us and cannot wait to introduce you to Miss Rakia Reynolds.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. Let me tell everyone all about your amazingness. So first off, we were just reminiscing that Rakia was featured alongside both of us on an Inc. magazine feature back in March. And we've kind of just been chatting since then, and she is brilliant. So she is the CEO and founder of Sky Blue Media, a multimedia public relations agency with an all-star roster of lifestyle, technology, nonprofit, and fashion clients. As a leader in the industry, she's highly sought after by companies to provide expertise in creative development, branding, marketing, and business communications. Her path to entrepreneurship started with numerous creative ventures, including producing shows for MTV, TLC, and Discovery Health Channel. She was a business major turned TV producer turned PR pro, and the twists and turns have made her into the media mogul and unstoppable trailblazer that she is today. She launched Sky Blue Media in 2008 with only one employee, one client, and the driving desire to form a PR agency that would break the mold and represent the future of public relations in the digital age. The firm has since grown tremendously to 14 employees and more than 30 prominent clients. In addition to building her business and those of others, she actively participates in speaking engagements nationwide and has been able to share her knowledge of business and brand development on numerous stages, including those of TED, Tech 808 DC, and Dell Women's Entrepreneur Network. She worked as a guest editor for Marie Claire magazine and has been featured in publications including Essence, Lucky, and Uptown. She regularly contributes her expertise on entrepreneurship and leadership to outlets such as Elle, Forbes, Inc., Huffington Post, and Fortune. As an on-air brand expert for Serena Williams' line for HSN, Rakia works closely with Williams and her design team on messaging and social media integration for launches, special product rollouts, and consumer engagement. In addition to all of that amazingness, she is a wife to her best friend and husband, Bram, and mother of 3 amazing children. Holy shit.
That was like a book right there. Well, we are so excited to have you on.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm like, which bio was that? That was definitely the long bio.
It was a good one, though.
I mean, we have to read every juicy nugget of your brilliance, you know?
Oh, thanks. Well, I appreciate it. And like at a time like this, you know, like it's great to just have, you know, women lifting up women. So I appreciate the braggadocious air of your reading of my bio. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Braggadocious. That is a word that we need to integrate into more of life.
That is amazing. So tell us, Rakia, what does it look like for you to live an amplified life?
Oh, wow. What does it look like for me to live an amplified life? I mean, I think, you know, for me, that's a couple of different meanings. As a mother, I see like amplifying life through my children. I see amplifying life through, you know, inspiring others and being a trailblazer and you know, being a woman and a woman of color in an industry that is moving so rapidly. And sometimes, you know, sometimes with a ton of barriers. So I think amplifying life to me is like, you know, just having more life. I've been seeing the hashtag more life all over Instagram because of Drake's, one of Drake's and I think Rihanna's songs. So I think for me, it's like being able to be excited about what I do all of the time, being in a place where, you know, I'm thriving and I'm also happy. I think sometimes we take the happiness out of the things that we do. We take the joy out of it and we're just grinding. We're talking about hustling. We're talking about growing and building and making and creating and all of these things. And I think for me, amplifying life is doing all of the things that I do, but doing it in an enjoyable way, being excited about it and being really happy.
I love that. Happiness. Let's dive into that.
Yeah, and joy.
Yeah, you have I can feel that energy and excitement within you. And I'm curious, have you always been this way? Or was there a moment in your life where you awakened to the necessary essential elements of happiness?
Well, I think, you know, I'll say I was always a happy kid. I always remember people always saying, oh my gosh, what? You're always so happy, or you're always so jumpy, or you're always doing this. So I think generally I was a happy kid, but I think we all get to moments of our lives where we feel completely helpless. And I've hit the wall a couple of times throughout my life. I've had so many different ebbs and flows. As an entrepreneur, you know, we're generally risk takers and the people that are like, you know, trailblazing, but with entrepreneurship, it could be one or two things. You can, you know, risk take, jump off the bridge one day, and that bridge could be you landing in water and treading in water, or it could be you landing on a pile of rocks. So I think for me, I've seen both sides of the fence. I've had some really low lows, and I've had some really high highs. But I know that, as I got into later on in my life, like I'm nestled in my 30s, later on in my 30s. But I think in my mid 30s, and I'll just say this, you know, being transparent, I just really started to learn how to reset my mindset and be the master of my thoughts. You know, I'd read somewhere that, I think we had like 60,000 thoughts a day. And I'm like, I have to be really conscious, and I have to be mindful about having like 55,000 great thoughts a day, because we can easily, only have one. But I tend to look more at the positive side of things, and being like grateful for what I have in front of me, and, not worrying about all the other shit, like not just worrying about it. So I think happiness is sort of relative to a lot of people. And sometimes for me, it's different. It's different. It's that I walked out of a meeting not sweating, or I didn't lose, I'm happy that I didn't lose my temper. I didn't lose it, like 10 minutes ago. So I think it's relative. And so when you say like, have you always been this way? I think it's been different forms of happiness. I think content, was one form. Relief was a form of happiness for me at one point. And now I'm at a time where I am just conscious about all of the things around me. I'm as conscious as I've ever been about all of the things around me, and super mindful of how to control the things around me, even the variables and the balls that are thrown as curveballs sometimes.
Amazing. I have been going through a lot of this myself as well. I've been talking to a few friends, like those of us that are super ambitious, right? We're always striving for something else. And there's always this desire to like do more and be more. And I was having a conversation with a friend that's like, how do you balance that like striving to like grow a business and impact people, and for you, be a mom and grow great children, and be really happy and present with exactly where you are right now in the moment. And so that's kind of one thing I've been looking at a little bit. So for you, how do you manage that? Like, how do you calm that desire for yourself to like do more and be more and expand and all these things, and still be in this happiness?
I think there are a couple of different things that I do. I'll say that, there are times when, I've like gone down the black hole online, like, oh, let me check my Insta feeds this morning and see what people are up to. Let me make sure I'm posting my content on my Facebook, and I'm tweeting, and I'm doing all these things, and, publishing an article on LinkedIn. And when you do that, you then start looking at what other people are doing. And I think sometimes we compare ourselves to other people and look at where they are in their lives at that moment. And we, sometimes I would say subconsciously we'll just sort of size ourselves up and say, we're not where we want to be. We're supposed to be doing all of these amazing things, and we're constantly, striving, as you said, for greater. And I think for me, it's being able to pull a step back and be in the moment. I learned from a media coach a while back, because I also do on air for one of our clients, and she was watching me on television one night, and she was like, you're not there. Like, you're just not there. And I said, I have to be honest. I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about that. And I'm thinking about, my business growing, and I'm thinking about this contract. There were so many things I was thinking about at that time. And she was like, I need you to start living more in the present. I need you to do breathing exercises around living in the present. So what I do now, before I do anything major, whether that's walking into a meeting with a client, whether that's, completing a contract, or standing, going on air, or doing a photo shoot for one of our clients, I take at least 5 minutes to myself where I can really breathe and visualize myself just being in that moment. And it takes a lot to do that. So what I do before I do anything, before I walk into the house, before I go bike riding with my kids, before I, sit down with my 14-year-old to have a serious conversation, or to, just have a conversation with her around around motivation, I put myself in that moment. So there are breathing exercises that I do. And then I kind of have to, like, I don't want to say psych myself out, psych myself up, but I essentially do. I talk about everything that's happening right then and now, and sort of throw away and discard anything that's happening, in the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or, further out. But for me personally, it's about living in the moment, being in the present, and totally immersing myself in the moment, in the present.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh, that was just so good. I'm all about mindfulness and focusing on what's here. And I'm curious for you, what do you find to be the biggest hurdle, challenge, obstacle, whatever word you want to put, when it comes to really being present? Like, what do you find pulls your attention away the most or the most powerfully from the present? And how do you navigate that?
I mean, as an entrepreneur, I'm thinking of everything. I'm thinking of the HR side of my business. I'm thinking of, the hiring. I'm thinking of who's not supposed to be there anymore. I'm thinking about growth. Everything is a constant distraction for me. It is very hard to be in the present, live in the moment, and be super mindful around those things. So I think, the things that pull me away the most, and again, it depends on the day. The other day, got into this place because I was in a conversation talking about, diversity in media. And I felt myself getting really sad about all of the things that, I've had to go through as an entrepreneur, as a woman, in the media landscape, that some of my peers, that don't look like me or don't sound like me have had to go through. So in that moment, I was so distracted and overwhelmed by the conversation that was going on in our country at that moment, that it was really hard for me to be present. It was really hard for me to focus on being present. And that it was me being able to take a bike ride with my kids and sort of snap out of it. But I think for me, I'm dealing with so many different variables, in my industry, and, being in media, and, clients, and day-to-day operations of running a business, and being an entrepreneur, and a mother, and a wife, and all of these things. I used to call myself the octopus woman, and wear an octopus to remind myself, you have all of these things to do. You have to be somebody's mother. You have to be somebody's wife. You're somebody's daughter. You're somebody's, sister. You're a leader. You're an entrepreneur. You're all of these things. So I needed that octopus as a symbol to remind me that I was all of these things. So I'm saying all of those things that I'm involved in, I have a constant distraction. So there's never just one thing. It really depends on the day and the hour that it is of the day.
Whew. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you. That's a great metaphor. I like thinking about it that way, with the octopus. I feel like
you need something, right?
I feel like octopuses are a symbol for something. Like they symbolize something. I just
want me to look it up?
Sure.
I love this shit.
Yeah, look it up. While Bree is looking up,
That's curious. Like my spirit animal.
Let's move in a slightly different direction, because you have a lot of PR and media expertise, and I can't recall off the top of my head, but I don't really have a great memory on anyone else that we've had that's really in this industry. And I'm curious your thoughts on women putting themselves out there, and women, putting themselves on media, and the challenges that women face when it comes to putting themselves out there.
Yeah, I think for women and people in general, we're in a climate of there are no resumes anymore. Your brand is your CV. Your brand is what people are constantly evaluating, whether you're going into, you're going into an interview, or you're applying for colleges, or you are pitching a client, or in some cases you're applying for certain insurances. People are looking you up online constantly, and I sometimes check Google to see what people are searching, on me. And I've seen things come up about, my husband and my children. So that you're in a constant, it's this constant climate of sizing you up and being evaluated online. So if you know that you're being evaluated online, be consistent and be true to who you are. And I think that for a lot of women, that is taking a step back and maybe having your own think tank. You're evaluating, okay, who am I? What are the things that people say about me when I leave a room? What are the things that I want people to say about me when I'm entering a room? Does that come across on my online presence? Is that prominent in my profile? I look at, online presence all of the time, and I look at what people call themselves or what people are posting. But I think depending on your industry or, the people that you appeal to, you have to be true to that brand, and you also have to be consistent. So it's not just, being true and being your best self or being your transparent self, but it's being consistent if you want it to be something that's going to be impactful, or if you want it to be something that you can leverage later on. So I think with online media, and I might not be answering the question, but I think as we're looking at ourselves online and, from a communication standpoint, it's just, you just have to be careful, thoughtful, and strategic when it comes to the presence that you're building for yourself online, whether that's your op-eds, whether that's your tweets. Sometimes when people search you, your tweets might come up. Other times that they search you, depending on what's out there, your IG profile will come up if it's public, or your LinkedIn profile will come up, or in some instances, your Facebook. It all depends on how they're searching you and what they're typing in. So I always say to people, be consistent across the board, be your authentic self, make sure that it's organic. And it not only speaks to the content that you love, but what is your audience responding to? Why are people following you? Why are people reading about you? So it's feeding that, but staying true to your brand.
So I know that a lot of women's fears about being their authentic self online, of course, are things like judgment or, disownment, or their friends are going to stop talking to them, or someone's going to tweet back at them about how wrong they are about what they just posted, or any of those things. So what is your advice to women who are craving to be their authentic selves online and build this presence, and have this part of themselves that are like, what if I get burned at the stake, and what if people disown me, and what if all my friends abandon me, and da 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 da. Do you have to, what do you tell your women or your clients that are kind of in that space?
Well, I would say it always depends on the client. I have my youngest client is a 12-year-old social activist. So what I tell her might be different than, what we're telling some of our, older corporate clients. But what I usually will say is that might happen. You are going to get comments where people are not going to like you. They're going to disagree with you. And I've always said, don't feed the trolls. But you have to be in a position, if you're someone that is going to, or about to, or is in the middle of embarking in saying, hey, I am going to build my online presence, or I want to, tweak or refine my messaging online. You have to be okay with the fact that not everyone is going to agree with you, and not everybody is going to like what you put out there. And sometimes people really don't care what you have to say at all. So you have to be willing to say, I'm going to be the risk taker. And in my case, I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs. I always say the definition of an entrepreneur is the risk taker. So if you're going to truly be a risk taker, you have to be willing to take that risk. What I will say is that for some of my clients, ones that, and I believe in research, and I do believe in, think tanks and hosting things among friends first. I've had clients in, some situations where I said, build a WhatsApp group, and some of the things that you really want to post online that you think might be great for your audience might not be great. So why don't you put it on your WhatsApp? Because some of us, like, posting online is like a release. It's like our therapy. Like, we want people to know that we've had a bad day, and we want people to know, sometimes through motivation, not to feed your haters and things like that. But that might not be appropriate for you. That might not be appropriate for your brand. The people that are following you might not want to hear you say things like, don't feed the haters, or don't feed the trolls. So you have to have outlets so that you can, inspire. You have to have outlets online that it's feeding you and feeding your audience at the same time. But for me, there's no copying and pasting to this. I believe in taking a bespoke approach to every brand. So if you're a chef, I might say, stay away from these outlets and pay attention, more to to Pinterest. If you're a television producer, I might tell you to use one outlet over the other. If you're, a supermodel, I might say be super visual and, just focus on these three outlets. So it all depends on who you are and what you're doing. But in the general sense, it's, picking things that you can respond the most to and your audience wants to respond the most to, and then carving out what that authentic content is around that not only feeds your soul, but also feeds the people that you're out with. Feeds the audience that you're engaging. But essentially, you're a risk taker. You have to be able to take that risk and say, sometimes people are not going to like what I say.
Wow, thank you. That was some really good points. I appreciate you sharing that with us and with our community.
Yeah.
I do have a question. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I would love to know your perspective. Let's blow up this idea of a brand real quick. I've noticed since the rise of social media that it is true that even individuals are brands, whether or not they run a business. And they have to be thinking about themselves and how they're putting themselves out there as such. And, there's these kids that are posting, stupid things online, and then their college applications are being denied because a college finds out about it, right? So we've got to be aware of what we're posting, and putting ourselves as this idea of a brand is a great way of being aware and being consistent. But I'm curious to the downside, especially for women's psychology. I feel like we already have such a stigma of needing to be perfect and needing to present ourselves in a certain way, even before social media. I'm curious, do you feel like this notion of a brand is perpetuating the need for women to be perfectionists and to be consumed with her looks and, obsessed with what people think about her, even more so?
Oh, absolutely. As a mother, that's something that I'm faced with, constantly.
Yeah.
My children, are 7, 9, and 14. And for my 14-year-old, she's not really online as much. She has an Instagram, but it's mostly of her drawing. And we've had real conversations around, and this is, to a child, saying things are not written in pencil, they're written in ink. So what you put online stays there. Whether it's a video or, a snap, of course you think it disappeared, but somebody else screen grabbed it and sent it to 20 other people before you were able to delete it. So I've had to have those real conversations with my kid. I've had to have those real conversations with my kids because I have 2 daughters, and I want to make sure that they know what is to come, even if they're not online as much right now, but what is to come. But I think for a lot of women, it is this, this woman, a good friend of mine said the other day that we all have this sheep mentality where, we're just heavily influenced by other people. If one person doesn't like it, then there's a domino effect and no one likes it. So I think as we are living in this sort of sheep mentality space and we're all sizing one another up and comparing ourselves online, it is not good for our psychology. I see the things that are trending the most online right now, like, health and fitness, which I think are great. I think that, we're all, eating a lot healthier and we're all working out, but there's also, some downsides of that, because everybody's looking at who can work out the best, who's going to have the most snatched weight, and who's drinking the most tea to stay fit, and who's eating the most salads. And it's like, at what point does that bubble burst? So that's why I'm really, when I'm talking to clients, I'm very transparent with them. And sometimes it's not a nice conversation. I will tell them, you have no business being on Instagram. Build your Facebook community, and you're a thought leader. Stay on Twitter. You're a great writer. We do not need to tell your story through all of these images. But it depends. So it's knowing where you have the authoritative voice and what you're an expert in and what kinds of content you put out. I don't think that everybody has to tell their story through pictures. I think some of us are very, with great quick wit, informative and authoritative, using Twitter and publishing articles on LinkedIn. So it's really knowing your lane and what your voice is, where your voice matters the most, and not where you feel like you're having the most fun, if that makes sense.
Yes, that definitely makes sense. I've loved Instagram for most of my business, but this past year I've been so checked out of it because I'm no longer interested in showcasing my life as this ideal lifestyle for people to look up to. That's not where my content lies. That's not where my power lies. And so I've been doing that, of navigating, well, where is the best place for my content and my information? And, I have amassed a following on Instagram. So what do I do with that? How do I manage that? Like what types of pictures do I share? So I'm glad that you said that. And I feel like this is so relevant to so many of us who are seeing the flip side of building a brand online, is this constant expectation of how you have to appear and how you have to look and how you have to be showing up every day. And I feel for a lot of us, it's slowly killing us.
Yeah, and I think it's good for some people, and it isn't. I think, what's that old saying, like what's good for the goose isn't good for the gander. I hear my grandmother say things like that. It's like, and it's true. You don't have to. My mother used to always say, Rakia, you cannot be on every ship that sails, and you can't be that person that's like, okay, I have a huge Instagram following, and I want to be on Twitter, I want to be on Facebook, I want to be on Pinterest, I want to be snapping, I want to be updating my IG.
But I want to be everything. Like, I want to be it all.
Yeah, we have people that, we have clients that want to be on all of those things, and I'm like, and sometimes I'm like, are you serious? You're on Snap, and you have IG stories, you have an Instagram, you have a Facebook personal page, you have a Facebook fan page, you're tweeting constantly. So it's like, at some point you do have to pull back because you're going to super saturate the market. People do get tired of everything, but you also have to know, and that's why it's good to, I would say, we're experts, in communication. So, with my team, it's like we focus and we research on where your brand is getting the most engagement, and we stay focused on those channels. Yes, you have to be able to communicate with people in different mediums to tell different stories to appeal to those audiences, because we know that there's a different demo for, Insta or Snap and Facebook and Pinterest. Yes, they're all different outlets, but you have to also know what is going to be best for your brand and for your audience, because you might have a massive IG following, but you're getting more impact through your LinkedIn because people are making business connections for you, or the people that are moving the needle and making most of the decisions are reading your opinion pieces and saying, hey, I like this person's thoughts, we should partner up and we should work together. So you have to really understand what's your goal. Is your goal, from building content, is it to motivate and inspire people? Is it to, make more business connections? Is it to be popular? Because a lot of us right now are really struggling with that. Like, I want to be popular. Like, my likes are my currency. I want to make sure that I've gotten like 900 likes on my photo. But is that 900 likes on your photo does it really matter if you get 900 likes on your photo? Or is it more impactful for 5 influencers to read an opinion piece that you wrote?
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah, no, this is really, really good. I feel like this is important truth smack to some of our millennial listeners that are building their brands and building their online presence. And we love this conversation so much, but we have to wrap it up. So here's what we're going to do.
We're going to put a pin in it.
We're going to put a pin in it. And we're going to take this to the extended cut conversation. So for anyone who wants to learn more about you, Rakia, and your incredible work in the world, where can they go?
They can follow my business page, Sky Blue Media, which is SKAI Blue Media. So we're on Instagram, mostly telling the behind-the-scenes stories, and Facebook. Or they can send an email to info@skybluemedia.com and be added to our newsletter. Amazing. And then if you want to know more about me, just personally, I'm just Rakia Reynolds, RAKIA REYNOLDS. And I have most of my conversations on Twitter and Instagram.
Amazing.
Glad you know your outlets. Yay. Well, we are going to talk all things octopus and ask Rakia some more in-depth questions on the extended cut. So you can join us over there at beamplified.community. You can also find us on all the socials at The Amplify Co. We particularly love Instagram. And until next week,
go be amplified.